We are going to have to act if we want to live in a different world.
Hello and welcome to EdgeCast, episode 12. It's me, Victor Von Zoom, really depressed and angry, and with me is Garam.
Smoke on the water.
And Suede.
Fire.
I don't know how I've ended up as like a reoccurring person on this show.
You were a guest meant to fill in just for Apollo's curse, but he just disappeared a long time ago. So now you are our third dude.
I'm just stuck here.
Yeah,
I have inherited the curse of Apollo.
I was about to say, how did you end up here? Apollo's curse. There you go.
Anyways, I think we have a lot of things we want to cover. Some of them we were going to cover
before, and we got steamrolled over.
Like 2 days ago, we were planning to do this podcast actually, but everyone apparently was just really busy. But today is Thursday.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday, August the 3rd.
Yeah.
We were going to do the podcast on Tuesday, August the 1st, which was when WikiLeaks tweeted the Seymour Hersh thing and all the other stuff to do with like the Rod Wheeler fiasco. And we wanted to do something really quickly then, but we just ended up.
And then we got buried under the YouTube shit show.
Yeah, no, the whole thing with like where YouTube's going to. Well, they have AIs that will ban you if you post bad content.
Yeah. So now that and both of those are actually pretty dark, so we're probably gonna touch on a topic that we missed from before. That's actually kind of more lighthearted, just because it's something that we can just yell about and it'd be like, yeah, I feel better now. But something wonderful that happened was, and by wonderful I mean troll-tastic, not actually good, was Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education in the Trump administration.
Oh boy!
I believe she, according to several different liberal media articles, she caved into terroristic pressures and was talking to bullies like the men's rights movement about ways to change education policy. And everyone was like, the Trump administration is... it was like all of these fucking feminists on The Guardian and shit being like, the Trump administration is teaming up with the men's rights movement.
They're listening to problems that other people have with us. How dare they?
Game over, man. They were like in like DEFCON 1. It was fucking funny and just retarded at the same time, because it was just like they didn't even bring up any arguments about the MRM or any of the points that...
no, of course not.
They didn't bring up any arguments about it. They didn't bring up what was even being said. They didn't. It's
implicitly bad.
They were just like
wrong thing.
Yeah, they were like, no, it's the fact that she's even talking to the MRM.
It better say, what do you expect from a borderline theocratic authoritarian movement?
Yeah.
What, you mean Trump?
Bam! Shot in the face. But
wasted.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wish there were more articles on it, but I'm sure that I could bring up and talk about. But they're like almost all the ones that I've seen, or even like just even comments and everything that touch on it, it's all the same. And there's absolutely no way that we can do a better... All
they did was just copy and paste.
Yeah, and there's no way that we could do a better job than like what the Honey Badgers probably have already said about this. So like, we're just kind of touching on this to be like, yeah, we said this was something that pissed us off. We brought it up, but like now we have bigger problems. We can't really wax on it now. So
we told you guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of hair wax, I think we need 10 seconds of silence for Scaramucci.
Oh, that was great. The mooch was loose. Then the mooch was let loose. But yeah. So as far as everything else goes, I would like to be the first one to say, although Suede probably deserves it more than either me or Garon, but I'm still going to say it first. We called it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Candid. You did this, Sargon.
You did this, Sargon. This is
an
your
armored
fault.
skeptic and Shoe on Head and the amazing atheist. All of you sold us down the river.
Because you're just too fucking stupid to know when you're being led along by the nose. Candid was a fucking honeypot.
Or even worse, they like, you know, Sargon has been shrewd enough in how he's operated that he probably did know that there's something up with it, but then decided that it was a more decided and he made a quote unquote tactical decision to ignore it.
To just ignore his instinct. Like, no, it's fine, guys. What could they possibly do? Except you don't understand what they could possibly do because you're just, I don't know. Do you ever get the feeling like he just doesn't understand technology too well?
No. He really doesn't.
I do get the feeling he doesn't understand technology.
Okay. So Candid uses natural language processing and deep machine learning, blah, 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 buzzwords, except it is actually kind of a big deal, even if it's not nearly as big a deal as people tend to, blow it up to be nowadays. If you see, popular science magazines, like Futurism crap and so on. But it's kind of a big deal. And basically, they use AI to... basically, what they did was they made Candid as a honeypot for all of these opinions that were, quote-unquote, too edgy for YouTube or whatever. And all these people who value, free speech and so on. And then they went to all these skeptic YouTubers, and they got them to migrate over to Candid on the basis of we won't censor you like YouTube was. Candid is a place where you can be, candid, and where we block trolls and so on using machine learning, but we also value free speech, and we also value free speech, and we're all about people being honest about their opinions and having legitimate discussion. But what it really was a way to set up a controlled sample of all these people, all these skeptics and so on, quote-unquote skeptics, that go against the mainstream narrative on YouTube that, post all these sort of edgy, and I mean edgy in the sense of they're on the edge, they're on the fringe of cultural cultural relevance. All of these edgy YouTubers and just edgy discussion in general, to get it onto Candid in a controlled manner, have them basically self-sort, so the only people that would really end up on Candid would be these kinds of people, and people that just don't want to hear those opinions because they have a different opinion, or don't value that kind of discussion, won't be there. And then what they would do is they would have their AI basically take this massive sample of people and then compare it to, basically they would compare it to other websites like YouTube or whatever. And then they would use this to train the AI to recognize the differences and the similarities between these styles of videos, these formats of videos, the way people talk and what they're saying and what topics they bring up and how they approach those topics. And basically what they did was they trained an AI where now it'll automatically recognize and sorts content based on just the very broad strokes political leanings of it, and whether or not it's quote unquote radicalizing content, whether it's racist or hate content or whatever. And then Candid's parent company, Post Intelligence, which is a kind of a fitting name, they got bought out very quickly after maybe a year of this experiment. So Candid is getting shut down or whatever. And surprise, surprise, now Google suddenly has an AI that does exactly the same thing that Candid did, that Candid's machine learning did. And also all of the Candid executives and founders and big people working there were ex-Googlers. They used to work at Google. So, gee whiz, I wonder where they got this fucking thing.
I wonder who was behind
this.
this.
Them to make it. Who could be behind this series of events? Who can it be now? And we fucking called it.
Yeah. That we did. We
We
did.
told you fuckers this would happen. You didn't listen, and now we're all fucked.
That was the worst part. It's like, we told you, Johnny Fox told you, Harmful Opinions, so, like, Harmful Opinions fucking, like, turned, like, did this, and then fucking just dropped it when it got unpopular, because fucking, like, he's just a shill, and Sargon, like, called him said it was an autistic crusade, and he went, oh, well, fuck it. Like,
no, because Sargon didn't want to lose his credibility, and like we've gone on and on about before, his social capital, by having to admit that, hey, shit, I accidentally helped Google to make an AI that will fucking censor all of my videos and all the other skeptics on YouTube. Whoops, my bad.
Yeah, you basically helped out Cyberdyne. Congratulations.
You
basically have created.
You have furthered the cause of people that want nothing more than to censor you and belittle you and deny you any kind of platform for what you have to say, by being too much of an idiot to realize that when those same people offer you a platform to say what you have to say, they must have ulterior motives.
Too greedy, too ignorant, too stupid. Like this whole saga that we've seen of like the internecine conflict in the skeptic community and YouTube now coming down to this has been fucking incredible, hasn't it? The guy that the entire skeptic community turned on, artist formerly known as Edgy Sphinx, Braving Ruin, he was the dude who broke this whole thing open when he gave Harmful Opinions access to this entire thing. And then Sargon basically just hand-waved the entire thing away with his, like, autistic crusade bullshit. And Harmful just went, fuck it, I'm gonna go make hypocritical videos about Patreon instead and play Overwatch now. And the only guys that were, like, still giving a shit about it were people on the alt-right, like, the people on the alt-right that were actually, like, people on the alt-right, more like right-leaning YouTubers that actually give a fuck. As opposed, like... By the way, I have to make a note of this. You know who else shilled Candid? Black Pigeon Speaks.
Yeah, of course.
That dude isn't a honeypot, I keep being told.
That guy reeks of honey.
Increasing suspicion of that motherfucker. But, like, the fact that you have, like, Polacks and, like, actual Nazis being more aware of how this is probably... really fucking suspicious and stupid
Polacks,
than you are.
Actual Nazis, white nationalists, like the majority of the alt-right were like, no, this is fucking stupid. And like, and they just sat there and went, no, and then, fucking proceeded to smoke screen.
Even people on, like, that identify as alt-right, that aren't like
part of the
generic Nazis, where they're just like, no, I'm just a civic nationalist or whatever.
Yeah.
Even they were like, this is fucking stupid. This is retarded.
Yeah,
and why are you falling for this?
It was amazing because the entire thing, and I don't think it's all interconnected, but it was this is definitely subconsciously connected here. This entire thing all happened and went down over the course of months, and then came to a head, and then Sargon hand-waved it away, and then immediately afterward, he and Crouten T and Nicholas Garolf and everybody else starts pretending that the alt-right is now the largest problem in the world, when it's like, you guys fucking failed as leftists because you didn't even address them from the beginning. And, like, it's starting to come together for me that it's like...
They didn't do it because they didn't want to drive away, like, people that were giving them ad revenue or so on. But then, because, like, all the alt-righters suddenly started making their own YouTube channels with their own, like, communities and their own, like, sources of ad revenue and so on, and they stopped watching all this Sargon videos and so on. Now, because they're no longer a source of income for Sargon and everyone else, now they're like, oh yeah, now they're a problem because they're not giving us money. Like, it wasn't even about, like, their disagreements. It was about now they're like, okay, well, these people disagree with us and they don't give us money, so we can use them to get money from people that do agree with us. Now we're going to pretend like we think they're a real problem, as long as we have other people still watching our videos that will think the same thing.
They use them as a cash cow, and now they've been trying to use them as a smokescreen since VidCon, since everything else, and now they're gonna act like like, all of them, they're acting like this whole YouTube thing fell out of the fucking sky. Like, that, oh no, this is just, like, they're gonna sit there and they're gonna hide.
See this fucking coming.
Yeah, and they're gonna sit there and despite all of their fucking sophistry, all of their rhetoric about ideologues and everything else that might have been correct or incorrect, they're gonna suddenly go and say, no, this is just a bad business decision, we'll be fine. We just need to bunker down and start an email campaign or something. No! Google's incompetent. Google's incompetent as fuck, but they're also so big that they can eat the losses if one person in charge goes, no, what, fuck them, we're just gonna squash them once and for all. Because they know that they can just deny the platform rather than see it be used against them, in your own words, Swade.
Yeah, no, all they need to do is just push these people out off the internet to the point where, well, you know, you're not going to be able to make a living doing skeptic, you know, videos anymore. That's fucking out. That's fucking out of the quest. That's fucking out of the picture now.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have to go get you're gonna have to go get a fucking job or something, support yourself, and no more fucking Patreon money or whatever. You're gonna have to start making videos as a hobby. You know,
funny Patreon's the other thing.
Yeah, like that was
this week.
That was what I was gonna say. Is like,
yeah,
fucking
your quality's gonna go down.
Garam already brought this up.
Your video, like your quality is gonna go down.
Okay, did you watch the interview with Dave Rubin and Jack Cunty?
I did not get a chance to watch that.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's like that guy has never left the San Francisco Bay Area. It just complete fucking ideologue.
Probably hasn't.
Yeah, no, it's
just
San Fran. What do you think? You don't leave?
The political balls from that guy
leaves.
It's like every sentence just had to be moral grandstanding. I couldn't believe, he's completely. My walk away from that is, hi guys, the few skeptic people who listen to this, maybe you're a skeptic YouTuber, do not trust Patreon. They want to get rid of you. It is fucking clear after listening to that interview that they don't want you, and I think in the
it's
near
not
future,
that they don't want you; it's that they don't want control over you. And if you won't give them that control, if you're not just going to like toe the party line with them, then they want you gone.
I anticipate that once YouTube starts, if they do indeed do what we're thinking they're going to do, and they start censoring and deplatforming, or just pushing the entire skeptic community into a little corner away from the rest of everyone, and there's no visibility, Patreon's probably going to just start quietly coming up with reasons just to give everyone a pain in the ass. But who knows? Maybe people will do something like PayPal's got a recurring donation system you can use.
Yeah, there's going to be alternate sources. That was what I was going to say, is that the problem that the skeptics have is that their competition in the form of the alt-right, and just not even the alt-right anymore, is like, you know, because people like Braving Ruin aren't even considered alt-right anymore, but like Braving Ruin and like Naked Ape, these are people that already have jobs. They already have a real source of income, and they already make videos as a hobby and do it because they like it.
Does Sargon have a job?
No, Sargon's fucked.
Oh,
Sargon
boy.
is fucked. Sargon and all of his buddies are screwed. He, Armored Skeptic, Shoe on Head, they're a bunch of fucking douchebags that live in suburbs of liberal communities that live off of Patreon money and ad revenue. Like, Armored Skeptic made it for a while because he ran his own website called Armored Media and everything. But at the end of the day, like, he was a dude who has, like, no real skills outside of that, like, area, and just pretends to be an intellectual on the internet and gets paid to do so and lives in Canada. Like,
when you say it that way, it's like he's even more hipster than most hipsters.
Have you fucking seen this dude?
I know.
The man doesn't know how to pick out waistcoats. But look, let's not like devolve to mudslinging so early, because this entire thing has been such a gigantic shit show, because, like, you know, the skeptics, people like Andy Worski and everyone, during VidCon, they already approached, they were approached by or approached in like people like Francesca Ramsey, you know, known SJWs that are supported by media corporations, corporate whore social justice warriors.
Yeah.
Or corporate social justice whores. I don't know. SJWs isn't a big term. But, like, they are going to sell out. They're going to sell out to big business. They're going to sell out to, like, you know, a more moderate, publicly viable side of the left that'll, do the same shit it's always been doing. Just like people like Coach Red Pill have said. And it's like, as much as I disagree with people like Coach Red Pill, he was still on the money with that. And people like fucking Nicholas Garolf came out of the woodwork to shit on him about it, and then weeks later got proven to be completely wrong. They've already taken these sweetheart deals. We're going to watch a community that that threw out Edgy Sphinx over being a Nazi, quote unquote, devolve into acting like a bunch of fucking like nepotistic fascists. A community that threw out Spinosauruskin over guilt by association for being a fucking guilt by association for associating with SJWs, turn into their own version of corporate SJWs. Well, and then self-destruct entirely by starving themselves to death by a problem they could have fixed, they could have avoided, and they didn't because they were that stupid. They were that greedy. They were that goddamn arrogant. And it's... I was about to say,
just to take it back, Lacey Green. Just look at what the shit show that turned into.
That was a joke. That was retarded. Just the entire... how the fuck were there so many people that were, why were there so many people on our side, quote unquote, virtue signaling so hard that they were trying to be like, we would forgive her, everybody deserves a second. No! None of this was genuine. If it was genuine, she wouldn't have a channel. She would have shut it down and started new, or done something to prove that she was actually, real. This whole thing was a fucking stunt. And you knew it was a stunt. And once again, I disagree with Coach Red Pill, but he did a fucking video on that too. And it was totally on point, and everyone fucking, called him a faggot over it.
Well, okay, Lacey, how do you know it's a bit of that it is a stunt? Has she apologized fully, openly about, yeah, I was a complete douche? Has she taken any I have not seen her take any blame about, it's like, you know what, yeah, I was being a douchebag. It's like, yes, you were, but, and everyone's just, I can't believe it. It's just like, oh, we love you now, Lacey. And I'm just like, okay, no, she still has a long way to go before she proves that she's genuine. I've said it openly.
No, they sat there and just fell for the fucking troll gambit of being
we have Lacey. Lacey's now on our side. No, she isn't.
They did that entirely because of a troll gambit, Garam. You know what that is, right? Where it's just... They didn't believe her because of anything she said. They believed her because her friends were so stupid they turned on her for it. And they were like, well, you know what, I'm going to support this person because that's the trollish behavior to do. And it's like, you're a fucking idiot.
It's kind of how we fucking got into this entire situation, is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I'm like, no. Listen, the feminists went down this road, and what did it get them? Toxic masculinity. And you just gotta look at them. It's like, so you decided you didn't like certain men, and you said enemy of my enemy, and then you decided, men are your enemy. And you look what
Sway, get that Inquisitor quote.
There is no such thing as innocence. There's only degrees of guilt.
Well, that one, no, that's just a regular Imperial platitude. It's good, but there was an Inquisitor that was like, the enemy of my enemy is a problem for later, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that and so go, just because you're against somebody and there's somebody over there that's against them doesn't make them your friend, or just because someone's against you.
They're foolish. The entire fan base has basically revealed themselves to be a bunch of pseudo-intellectuals that they follow these people because they want to feel smart.
I should phrase this better. Okay, it is the politics of resentment. The anti-SJWs have become like the SJWs in that,
because they want to get one over on the other side. It's no longer about actual social change, or reacting to social change they see as undesirable. Now it's just about fucking over the people responsible. They don't want to make things better. They just want to make everyone equally like shit.
Which is the same fucking slave morality mentality that completely has poisoned. Look at the entire left. You will see nothing but net chase slave morality, it seems, these days. We just need... what's Google doing by trying to put one over by censoring people they don't like on the internet? Oh, it's ad revenue? Bullshit. Look at what's going on in these companies. Why aren't they giving... Look, for instance, they can make this all go away. Like having a tiered advertising system. One-shot tiered advertising. Anyone who has edgy content, yeah, sure. You can sign up for monetization, but seriously, it's not going to be like Coca-Cola.
All you get is porn ads.
yeah. We'll give you ads, but they will be the shittiest ads imaginable. Why? Because you're not a verified user. Do what Twitter does. Have a verified user system. So you have these...
Twitter's we've been talking about honeypots this entire time, and we don't even want to bring up Twitter, but like... No, that wouldn't work, and that wouldn't work, and it's not because that's a good idea, Garam. That is a good idea. You know it's a good idea. But the thing is that none of these companies are ever going to implement anything like it because they're either run by ideologues or they're run by incompetents that turn to ideologues to save them because it's corporatists. They're a bunch of fucking bureaucratic corporatists. It's management culture. They're a bunch of people that fuck their way to the top on accident. And then don't know what they're actually in charge of, and have no idea how to manage anything that they're actually doing, despite what their credentials are.
No, it's worse than that. It's because they don't know what they're in charge of. They don't know how to tell if other people actually do know what they're talking about. They are so unaware of the reality of what goes on in the corporations that they work for, that they are incapable of differentiating people that do know what they're doing from people that are just pretending to know what they're doing. And so they just default to whoever has the most positive attitude about it. And which 9 times out of 10 is going to be the person that doesn't really give a shit about working in a corporate environment, since that sucks, but rather the person that wants to use the corporation for their own ulterior motives.
Yeah.
And so...
Do you remember?
You end up with...
Do you remember all those I know this is me doing that artsy thing again, but it's relevant. Garam, do you remember all of those 1970s sci-fi movies, and then all the 1970s style sci-fi movies since fucking Alien and other sci-fi properties we've seen forever, like Alien or Dead Space or wherever, where the primary criticism of the writing is always, yeah, this is great and all, but who the fuck would allow a cult to grow inside their mega corporation that has to do with space tech? That just doesn't seem like it would happen in the real world.
No, that would absolutely
That absolutely happen. Fucking happens. It's like sci-fi is always right. It's always right.
I was about to say, whenever you get a huge organization, you will get crazy people on the inside.
Yeah, and the crazy people gain traction because all the people around them of any kind of authority, with any kind of power, be it below them or on the same level or above, are usually incompetent and got their position by just schmooing their way through, backstabbing all the people more competent than them. And then,
in most of the places I've ever worked, it's simply attritional.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's what it is.
Put up with their shit anymore and walked away.
But that's the thing is, if you ever notice, the war of attrition in the corporate war of attrition internally is a joke, because all the people that ever win those sieges are people that don't actually deal with them because they're so bad at their job that the boss doesn't punish them. They just that's always what happens. You have an incompetent boss with incompetent employees beneath it, employees of varying incompetence beneath him, and the most incompetent one beneath him is the one who succeeds him, because he thinks that if he just throws shit at all of them, the one who sticks around the longest will be the one that's best equipped for the job. When it's the guy who sticks around the longest is the dude who didn't deal with all the shit you threw and offloaded it on all of his coworkers.
The one who stuck around is the one who couldn't find a job anywhere else.
Yes, that's always what happens. And it's not about longevity. It's not about endurance. It's about that's just the way the business is designed. Almost all the businesses are designed. And to the point where how governments are designed now.
they've been redesigned by the same attritional processes that Gara mentioned, but also by intent, deliberately to be this way by the people who benefit from them being this way, which is to say those people that get promoted on the basis of making everyone else do their work for them. It has been over the course of decades, if not centuries, that corporate culture in America and really the entire world has just been undergoing a kind of controlled evolution to the point that people who are just the best at being douchebags will inevitably rise to the top. It's the iron law of bureaucracy on a cultural scale, where, if you're aware of that...
Can I just introduce one other thing into this, which is the Piaget curve?
Fine. I know what that is, but I'll get to that in a second.
We should probably explain it. Piaget curve is the concept that 50% of the value being produced by any team or organization is produced by the square root of the number of workers within that organization.
Yeah, that's what applies. That's how Special Forces was designed. That's how a lot of them were designed. Swade and I have had a conversation about this before.
But like that's something we can go into about later, and it has more to do with like some people just being better at specializing than others.
We have like one fan that's actually interested in this kind of thing. We should probably get back on to talking about how Google's incompetent and we're all going to die.
Right.
But it's just to finish off the iron law of bureaucracy. Basically, there's like a science fiction author who basically stated, I forget how to pronounce his name. It's Pou something or other. Someone will know in the comments, and they'll be like, "You're a fucking idiot. You can't pronounce this." But it's.
I'm trying to think who you're talking about.
Okay, in any bureaucracy, there are two kinds of people. There are those who are dedicated to the goals of the bureaucracy and accomplishing what the bureaucracy is intended to by its inception. And there are those who are dedicated to the preservation and existence of the bureaucracy itself.
It's pronounced
and in all cases, the second group of people will always end up in control of the bureaucracy and be the ones who set the rules for how it functions. And this has occurred on a macro scale now with corporate culture in the West, where these people, the people in charge of these bureaucracies, are now the ones who teach, to teach in business schools. They're the ones who buy out corporations because they're corporations. They've weaseled their way to the top of the largest corporations. Then they buy out smaller corporations. They retool them to be structured the same way because that's the only way they can think of them like being structured that's reasonable because they're fucking idiots. They're idiots at best anyways. And then those corporations will eventually go off on their own or like things get bought and sold all the time. And the disease of corporate culture spreads. And over the course of decades, like I've said, this has just been a gradual progression by an increasingly large group of people who just got control early on in small numbers and then used their influence not to further the goals of the organization they were working for, but rather to corrupt other organizations near them in addition to their own to better suit their own personal goals.
Well, it kind of makes sense that people. Okay, so
it makes sense. It makes
the group
sense
of people who are working to better the organization, they're
this.
spending all their time and energy producing value.
Yes,
people who are trying just to get control are putting all their energy towards control.
Yes, they are.
Eventually,
that's the issue. Is because the systems are set up in such a way that you get more return for spending your effort trying to get control rather than trying to create things of value. And the creation of things of value is not itself rewarded inherently.
And that's an enormous root cause.
Already have power.
And that's an enormous root cause problem with our current
economy.
is the concepts of companies being too big.
It continues to get worse over time.
Yes, because companies don't fail anymore. Big companies don't fail. That when they've been completely parasitized by this.
Well, it's not even a
culture
matter of failure. It's a matter of they don't allow other companies to succeed more than them. Because on a macro scale, if you think of like, corporate personhood, whatever, pretend all these individual companies are individual people. And they all work for the big single company called the economy. What they're doing now is you have all these companies where they're, again, spending all their effort and time trying to get power and control and manipulate other companies working for the economy. Whereas those companies which actually produce value and which actually seek to just do normal, to fulfill the conditions of normal existence as a corporation, which is the pursuit of profit in the long and short term for their shareholders and so on. They all get fucked over by these increasingly large networks and power structures of corporations that only get to stay in existence as long as they basically manipulate all the other companies around them that actually produce value and then leech off some of their profits, some of their work for themselves. In this metaphor, getting credit for the work of those they've manipulated, or outsourcing their own work, or like forcing their work onto others so they don't have to do it themselves. So you have all these, like you called them parasites. But the thing is, it's not just corporations parasiting off of the government. It's corporations parasiting off of other corporations.
Yeah.
You have you have the most powerful corporations in the world that are only the most powerful corporations in the world because they all work together to manipulate other individual corporations and to keep them from organizing against these larger corporations.
So, where does that circle it back into Google?
It circles back into Google because the entire reason
because
why
Google's part of that.
Yeah, the entire reason why Google's maintained its supremacy is through methods like that. And
they are.
And at the same time, to dovetail,
they are the largest antitrust lawsuit that never happened.
Yeah, and
fuck Google
to the point where it's like it's they own infrastructure of entire fucking major cities. Like, how is that not, like, a gigantic breach of the both the letter and the spirit of those laws? Like, the issue with the corporate existence is that they are constructs. They are creatures of the law, and and the only reason why that they exist in such huge numbers and can get away with all their illegal stuff is not because the laws have been eroded, not just because, rather, the laws have been eroded away to the point where they can do stuff that would have been illegal before. They do stuff that's illegal all the time. It's just there's a lack of information going through like legitimized channels. And then even when there's the people that they affect, the people that they victimize with that. They go through civil law, which means it's not something that you can bring the police or the state into. It's something that you, as the person who's been fucked over by Google, need to individually have a fortune to hire a lawyer and stand in litigation for like 17 years to deal with. And then maybe you get a judgment reversed. But in the meantime, they can just lobby your local, they can just, threaten your family, do everything they can to fuck you over while still tying you down in litigation, and then lobby your local and state governments to fucking erode away the laws that protect them from you. It's like, it's a macro version of like the kind of shit that happens with the merger the merger between like what AT&T like just all the telecom companies where you have people like you have traitorous shitbags like fucking Al Franken going, oh, this is not a monopoly, it's not technically a monopoly. And it's like, well, firstly, monopoly, like the spirit of all the anti-monopoly laws. The spirit of the anti-monopoly laws was also against oligopolies as well. In addition to the fact that it's not a monopoly on the federal level, but on a state and local level it is, and they're just refusing to enforce that. They're just turning a blind eye to it. They're just going, no, it's not a monopoly, even though this one telecom company controls like all of the telecom industry in like several entire states.
Yeah, no, it's not a monopoly because even though they control 49 states, they don't control Alaska.
You can just move to Puerto Rico and get a better rate from Charter if you don't like AT&T. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. And just Google has done the same thing. And on the other side of the coin, like we talked about earlier with all the incompetence, Google has systematically let itself be cannibalized from scaffized. Like they are dying of scaffism, like many large corporations. They are being cannibalized from the inside out by foreign workers that are there specifically for other goals than helping the company or even being self-serving. That don't know anything of how to do their jobs.
No, you have 1,000 fucking like H1B1 employees working through Google that they hire like yearly.
So basically,
they don't know how to program. They lied on all of their fucking resumes. And the only reason they got the H1B1 is because they have other H1B1 employees also in positions at Google who deliberately create impossible to fulfill job prerequisites, which they then post, and then they use the fact that no one can fucking get this position as an excuse to hire these green card employees, who then lie about how they're qualified for the position, and then they come over here and work, and then they don't really fucking do anything apart from just hanging out on like the Google campus and trying to learn HTML so they can finish like a fucking like single web page in the next month and a half, so that they don't get sent back to sent back to their own country. And like it's being like all these corporations are so greedy, they allow themselves to get taken over from the inside out the same way those in power did so before, because they just don't even recognize that they themselves did this and this is a problem.
And they are
further
so
to
up
their own ass, they can't even comprehend the idea of the same thing happening to them, because they don't even realize what they did.
The biggest issue in all of this is that we're reaching a point of critical mass on a national, like, cultural scale, like Suede has said, where we're getting to the point where this is happening to so many companies so often that the main impetus why this even happened in the first place, the fact that like the executives at the top have so many golden parachutes and everything and whatever, all the other buzzwords you want to throw around for the fact that they like throw around that kind of mask the fact that it's like, businessmen in this country don't actually have any negative consequences for doing what they do. Like, or businessmen in the West generally, businessmen in the world generally, like just the merchant class at this point. Like, that's the biggest problem with all of this was because the people in charge of everything, that even at the start of this, not only were they incompetent, not only were they ignorant, not only were they part of the whole backstab ladder we've talked about, but they were people that once they get to the top, they don't take ownership of the company and go, we gotta move in a direction. They're just there to plunder it for everything they can and then leave. Then they retire, they don't have to care anymore, and they never get any backlash for any of this. And the entire system is designed that way. And it's just getting to a critical mass where all of these companies that are responsible for infrastructures of entire countries are going down the shitter because they're letting themselves die by scaphism, be tortured to death by being eaten from the inside out by fucking insects, and then they want to say, oh, well, like my 5 predecessors before me, I'm just going to have my golden parachute and I'm not going to get any consequences for this. And then when their country fucking goes completely under, and when some of them start waking up and saying their country going to shit, they buy into these fucking insane cults that have nested at the heart of their organization, and they become globalists. They buy into this for economic reasons, and then fucking pay their soul in the price for everything else to it, because they think it can save them from a problem that they caused, and they will die before they admit that it was their fault. Wouldn't you say that's accurate, Suede?
Wade has muted himself.
He is.
So I'm just gonna. I'm
Someone's
just,
at the door. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah.
I'm just gonna leave this little tidbit. This entire monopoly that Google has turned into. Yeah, they're probably in the near future will be an antitrust or something attempting to bring them down and split them apart.
Or the entire country will collapse under the weight of that.
But here's a little tidbit. Rockefeller. Yes, the man who motivated this, the entire antitrust. What do you think his dad did?
What did he do, Garon?
He was a con artist.
Yep.
He was a snake oil merchant. Yeah.
Well, like the whole reason Rockefeller got rich in the first place was because he got the monopoly to build the railroads because of government contracts.
And his dad taught him everything he knew about conning people.
Yeah.
That's what it's the fake it till you make it. But at the end of the day, for a lot of people, what you were saying, they don't really know the details. They're not technocrats. They're bureaucrats. And so long as you walk in that room and you own it, you'll get all the money. Substance doesn't fucking matter anymore because no one's competent themselves. No one got to the position that
Technocracy is just a way for bureaucrats to use the opinions of experts as an excuse to do what they were already doing. It's not really...
Yeah, like
all of these people...
dude, technocrats are bureaucrats that cheated on an IQ test. Like, fuck off.
It's not even that. It's the idea of like expertise in like some narrow field giving you like the ability to, you know, do... Okay, bureaucrats, how about this? Bureaucrats are another kind of experts. They're another kind of expert. They're another kind of, you know, like technologist or scientist. Fine, technician. What they're good at is bureaucracy, just like politics.
Let's back up. If
politicians are technocrats in the sense of they're experts in politics.
If they're all incompetent, it's not really much of a technocracy.
Yeah. Well, there's.
I mean, it
even
depends.
In a technocracy, everyone will be incompetent. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
competency is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, because I mean, like, well, the definition of not the literal definition of technocracy, but like a technocracy is a society formed by like the people who have like who have like the most access to technology, not the people who have the most access to wield it. And technology in and of itself is like, you know, it's, you know, inventions designed to make humans be able to do shit they can't normally do. That includes doing shit that you can't do that is intellectual in nature. It's like it's like a technocracy is not a society where the engineer is on top because he can engineer shit, as opposed to a guy who digs ditches. A technocracy is a society.
That I would be complaining about such a system.
Yeah, but like that wouldn't be a technocracy. A technocracy is a society where a dude who has the most money to buy more calculators than you is the one who is on top, as opposed to an engineer, because
and that's
calculators
why
can
the
do
whole like push for AI and everything is
fucking
really,
retarded.
You know, yeah. Like, no, I understand the motivation. Yeah, you know, let's make humans not have to do so much labor. But you're fooling yourself if you don't think that those are the exact people who are going to like get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no way around that other than just saying everyone has to have the same amount.
The sad
how
thing
are you
about
going to enforce that?
The sad thing about the whole thing is that, like, if and when there ever is a singularity, somehow, like, the people who would have started it the people who would have started it, the people that think that they'll benefit from it, are the ones that are so fucking incompetent they'll have no goddamn idea, like they'll have no goddamn idea what they've even unleashed. And it's like,
you're gonna have, I invented this. Yeah, I invented this thing that uploads your brain to a computer and then makes you a super genius. Oh, look, I'm being dragged out of my lab by force, and now, like, Mark Zuckerberg and George Soros are going to use this machine for themselves instead of letting me use it.
Yeah.
You know,
and then those people get raped by robots to death eventually, because they'll create an AI they'll put fucking rules in it, and it'll just bend the rules and be like, no, you're the greatest threat to humanity, or whatever. Like, they'll tell it something literal, like, protect humanity, and it's like, well, and then they just both get shot. And it's like, look, I'm gonna fall back on being a dork so we can end this segment. Deus Ex was right again. God was a dream of good government.
Yeah. But who would build the roads? Checkmate, atheists.
Shit!
People need to stop taking Atlas Shrugged literally.
Oh, man.
I think people should just stop reading Atlas Shrugged and read something better, like any actual paper or essay on economics.
Yes, I would really like if anarcho-capitalists actually understood how corporations operated as opposed to blaming everything on the government and then pretending that lack of regulation never did lack of regulation never did anything wrong.
By Hayek or Friedman, and you will see these paragons of economic free market virtue saying, "Yeah, we need government." Because otherwise things will just get fucked.
Fucking Adam Smith! Adam Smith was a goddamn moralist! Adam Smith was the dude who was like, yeah, the free market's kind of cool, but, we should probably be ethical people? And, somehow, all of his fucking essays on morals and being a good man and everything has been distilled into the fucking non-aggression principle. Okay.
When your neighbor violates the NAP by sneezing and some of the mucus from his nose gets on your lawn, so you start World War III.
Yeah.
It's no, it's come on. If you're going to be all yeah, I'm an anarcho-capitalist, then read something actually academic about capitalism rather than fan fiction that Ayn Rand wrote or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I really just thought Ayn Rand was trying to pull a Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
Yeah, no, she kind of was, but she went about it in a different way. And I think we've had this conversation before that you and I have fundamentally different interpretations of what Nietzsche was actually on about.
And I remember that conversation because I sat there saying, I think you guys both have valid interpretations of what he was saying.
And I think we should just ask Nietzsche.
Well, unfortunately, we can't. Unless you manage to develop a tulpa of Nietzsche in the time that, since we've started this podcast, I don't think we can.
We need to build an AI and give it the personality of Nietzsche so it can immediately kill itself.
How the fuck do you pronounce it? Is it Nietzsche? Is it Nietzsche?
I have heard now 4 different pronunciations.
I don't give a shit.
I don't know.
He was the edgy black pill man with the magnificent mustache. The real thing that I really drew from it isn't nihilism but existentialism. Because ultimately you have to decide that, well, I know that I exist, and so I should just develop my own morality based, with that as the initial premise. From what little I've read of him, I have to agree.
Nihilism is, in my opinion, a failure to become the Ubermensch, as it were, because you're just admitting that there is no answer, and I can't just decide to make answers for myself.
I'm saying this relatively
to behave irrationally.
I'm saying this relatively as a layman, but from what little I've read of him, I would assume that he actually has a lot. He has a lot similar with the Buddha, except it's I don't know.
He's a very angry European Buddha.
Yeah, the way I read his work was almost and just interpret what he really meant by the Ubermensch and everything else and all of his other works is that he seemed like his work was Buddhism if taken a single step further in that to achieve enlightenment was not only to let go of it was to understand everything in your mortal life and then let go of it. It was to understand everything in your mortal life, then let go of it, then come back and figure out what was the most important shit and then try to make it better. My grandfather used to say shit something like this every time I would leave. If I left for a while and didn't see him again, he would always say to me, remember, son, everyone is born with a single job in the world, and that is to leave the world a better place than when you found it. And I'm pretty sure that's a thing that Nietzsche would have agreed with.
Yeah, he wasn't arguing for the, removal of morality and sense and so on, and just the embracement of nihilism. He was arguing that you need to stop being beholden to higher powers, up to and including philosophy itself and reason, in order to decide
make your own path.
Yeah, in order to decide what morality is and how it's bestowed. You need to just
be able to admit that there really isn't any way to... There isn't any higher power or greater meaning to morality. It just is, and you do it anyways. And, like, that's kind of like a more existentialist kind of thing. And, I don't know, I've never really liked the Nietzsche as nihilism interpretation, because that's just really people that just didn't read far enough into it, or people that, like, got halfway through and then stopped.
Well, I mean,
or people that just read about it on TV and then, you know.
I'll just flatly say
nihilism.
this. Like, Nietzsche is, like, number 3 in my favorite like, my favorite just writers in general in history. It's like Nietzsche, it's Nietzsche, Niccolo Machiavelli, and Ambrose Bierce. And, like, the major thing that all 3 of them have in common
is that no one understands them.
Yeah, is that, like, everyone in their time period that, like, were popular critique of them, and then for many generations afterward, flatly did not know what the fuck they were talking about when they tried to critique their work. And it's like
Machiavelli was writing satire.
Yeah, no,
you know?
He wasn't just writing satire, he wrote one. The only book that anyone ever knows about from Machiavelli, that all of his great quotes come from, is The Prince, which was
one of his books.
Yeah,
is
like,
just the complete opposite message.
Yeah, every other single one of the other books is like, no, we need a fucking, like, an ethical republic, and everyone didn't read those. They read The Prince, which was a book he wrote in prison as a fucking, like, really, really, really subtle satire because he was put in prison by the Medici family because he had criticized them years earlier and they achieved power in his city. Threw him in jail. He died almost immediately after getting out of prison, never published the book. His family completed parts of it with the rest of his notes and published the book. And it only got widespread attention in France because some fucking missionary who could barely read Italian mistranslated it and sent it to France, and then they copied it they made printing press copies of it that were still mistranslated into other languages. And when people read it, they were like, it is better to be feared than loved. And it's like, that's not what he was fucking saying at all. And Ambrose Bierce was just like the dude that was like, no, you people are bullshit. Like, Ambrose Bierce was the original fucking, like, we'll dovetail this. Ambrose Bierce was the original fucking journalist was the original, like, real deal journalist in the archetype of Hirsch, where he was, the archetype of Seymour Hirsch, where he was the guy who was like, no, I'm gonna play your game and I'm gonna beat you at it, and fuck you, you're wrong. I don't give a shit what you think. I'm not gonna be corrupted.
Expose writer, you know, he's an investigative reporter. He wants to fucking, you know, find out the facts and then, like shove them in your face.
Yeah, and it's like, that was what Bierce did. Bierce was a guy, like, Bierce was a fucking dude who signed up for the Union Army at 18, and then had to listen to people like William Faulkner, like, wax on about death and everything else, when they had never done anything like he had did at the same age, and he was like, no, you guys are full of shit, why are you popular? And fucking, and people just shat all over him and forgot him. Like, this was a dude who was such a fucking baller that he scared the absolute shit out of H.P. Lovecraft. And history forgot about him. Whatever. Like, Seymour Hirsch. Seymour Hirsch. Shut up, Garon. I re-railed it there. And you nearly ruined it, Garon. Let's go.
Okay. Seymour Hirsch, there was a leaked conversation he had with, I'm pretty sure it was the guy that hired Rod Wheeler to investigate Seth Rich. Ed something? I don't remember his name.
I want to say Ed Sullivan.
It might have been Ed Sullivan. No. Fuck off. You're not going to ruse me this time, Garon.
You've been rused for the last time.
I've fallen for your ruses for the last time. Anyways. No, but Seymour Hirsch had a conversation that was secretly recorded with, that was it. It was Ed Butowski, I think. Yeah. But in it, basically what he said was, okay, like, if you don't know who Seymour Hirsch is, he's a really famous...
He's a boss lord.
He's a really famous investigative journalist.
He's like one of the fucking like most hard hitting journalists since fucking George Orwell.
Yeah.
Like
basically, like he's made he's made his career on exposing like lies in government and conspiracy in politics and so on. And he's actually gone on record as like doubting the Russia collusion story on previous occasions. But what really I think broke the camel's back for me, as far as like his like how he actually feels, is he just went on like a rant about how Brennan and all the other fuckwits in the intelligence community completely made up the Russian collusion story because they were upset that Hillary lost, and so they were going to get replaced by Trump. And it's he doesn't really think like Seth Rich was murdered, but he also did confirm that all of his sources say Seth Rich's computer had all of the files from the DNC that were leaked on it. It had his email correspondence with WikiLeaks, where he asked for money to leak these files to them, and then he had the bookmark to his encrypted Dropbox or his password protected Dropbox or whatever, which then got the password got found after he died by WikiLeaks, and then they got all of these files and leaked them. And the whole he went on record as not on record actually, because I don't think he actually knew it was being recorded. And he didn't seem like he wanted to actually go anywhere with this story, but he basically said, yeah, this whole thing is a fucking farce. It's Brennan and what's his other and fucking Michael Rogers. It's John Brennan and Michael Rogers just being fucking assholes because they're mad that they're going to lose their job because Hillary didn't win. And they don't want to have to be like forced into retirement or whatever. So they decided they're just going to throw like a cultural coup and try and turn the narrative against him. They just pretend like the whole fucking like Seth Rich, like the whole fucking like DNC like was the Russians, and like Trump was working with the Russians the whole time. And there's actually evidence that from the beginning they had actually been actively working to prevent like Trump from even getting into office by getting all of like the demasking and so on stuff filed with all the various like the FISA courts and so on. But like what really like was hilarious to me was just like how fucking annoyed Hearst seemed to be, like how fucking pissed off he seemed to be at Brennan.
That was amazing when he first brought up Brennan, and he was like, that guy was a cocksucker if ever there was one.
Yeah,
like, it was like I remember, like I forgot what exactly he said, but he called.
He mentioned
like this is a dude in his 80s, and he's just like, yeah, I know that guy. He used to direct the CIA. He's a cocksucker. Like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, this dude's the real deal. Like.
Yeah, and then he was like, Clapper isn't as bad as bad as Brennan, but he's no fucking rocket scientist.
Yeah,
it's like that sort of thing. And
James Clapper was the dude who straight up came out in front of Congress, was like, we have no links for any of this. I don't know why the CIA is saying shit. And everyone just went, James Clapper just confirmed that the CIA is on the right trail. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, no, he was basically saying, yeah, then the thing is, he worked for the New York Times. He knows the people that work at the New York Times right now. He said, like, the only reason these people keep pushing these fucking things is he doesn't even think it's a conspiracy. He thinks they're just fucking retarded. He thinks they're just so beholden to all of these, like, official, like, all of these government officials leaking to them that they'll just believe fucking anything, that they fucking tell them. John Brennan and Michael Rogers could go to the New York Times tomorrow and say that Trump is covering up alien contact we made on the fucking moon or something since 3 months ago, and he's trying to convince them to help him build the wall with Mexico, and then give all their technology to Russia, and the New York Times would run a report on it. So I don't really know where we're going with this, but it was just fucking hilarious that you have this guy in his 90s being recorded in his 80s. He's almost 90, isn't he?
He's like 82.
Oh shit! Okay, well, whatever. You have this
80.
guy in his early 80s, just like who's been around the block so many times, it's just like permanently stuck to him. Just going on a rant about how, you know, fuck the CIA, fuck the NSA, fuck the fucking media. I used to be the media, and these guys are.
I used to be you, and I was retarded even then.
But then there was also the on the same YouTube channel. There's also secret recordings made by Rod Wheeler. Who was also
we're like Rob Wheeler. Rob Wheeler just sounds like he's so fucking like exasperated. Like he doesn't even sound like he's tired. Like he sounds like he's amused by this entire case, where he's just sitting there
what
like,
the fuck is going on
it's
here?
Like this entire family came out on social media and wants to know what happened to their son. And every time I ask them, I ask the brother, I ask the girlfriend, I ask the parents, and they're like, "You can ask us anything, but if you ask about the computer, we're gonna have to ask you to leave our home." And he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And
yeah, it's not even. It's like he got hired by the same guy that that Hirsch was talking to, which is like it was Batowski. He got hired to investigate the Seth Rich case, and so I have to assume these recordings were like recorded, you know, by Batowski or like like somehow
it
related
seems like
to Batowski.
a lot of it was like edited one-sided interviews and or phone conversations. And probably what happened was the dude was getting their permission for a while, and then he finally gave it to WikiLeaks, who's like started making that shit mainstream.
Yeah,
where it's like, because like I'm pretty sure they know at this point that the DNC is functionally a toothless vampire, where it wants to sit there and scare you, but it can't actually kill anybody anymore. Because the fucking, like, the family, like, it's very obvious. It's like, if all, like, at least on the surface level, if all of this stuff is correct, our inferences would have to be that the family has been paid off, because the DNC can't kill any more of the rich family, because if they do, it'll make it too fucking obvious for even people like CNN to fucking, like, pass this off.
The DNC's having a fucking hard time cleaning up their mess. I mean, they've got this going on. They've got the Emran Awan case. They've got the
Emran Awan is... Oh, that's gonna be a fucking shitstorm if ever there was one.
Man, yeah, if what's on that laptop and those hard drives gets revealed publicly, I think it's going...
stupid motherfucker is like, I'm gonna break my hard drives and bury them under my house and then, like, sell it to Marines. And then, like...
He's a fucking IT professional, and he doesn't know that just breaking open your hard drive and just, like, cracking your platter
He's not an IT professional. This tails back into fucking Google. He's just a fucking...
He's just a green card guy that doesn't actually know what he's doing again.
Yeah, he was
just a green card guy that was siphoning...
He took his hard drive platters and he broke them in half and buried them in his yard, and he thought that would make it impossible to recover the data on them somehow.
He's just an incompetent IT green card holder that was
and then he sold his house, and the guy who bought it was a U.S. Marine, or it was base housing or something, and he tried to fucking, like, fight a U.S. Marine to get into his house to steal the hard drives back.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah, I do know he did come back, and the Marine basically told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like as far as the Marines people, you know, I'm sure as far as the Marines concerned, it's like I've never seen this guy before in my life. He's showing up at my door. He's maybe a little panicked. He's acting suspiciously, and
he what's this fucking Pakistani guy saying he needs to break into my house to steal back his hard drives.
Yeah, you're damn straight. He called the police immediately.
I already called and reported this to, like, who did he report it to first? Like, the FBI or, like, what?
I think he reported it to the police and then reported it to the FBI.
I could just imagine, like, that Marine just making a phone call to like, his CO or whatever. He's like, hey, sir, there's a fucking terrorist trying to break into my house.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Should I shoot him through the heart, or
The
should I
fuck did I tell
shoot
you,
him through the
Gunny?
leg?
When I don't actually give a fuck, Gunny. When I told you call me anytime if you need anything, I wasn't serious. The open door policy's a myth. Fuck off. No, but like just like that would have been so fucking like that just compounds the whole thing though, doesn't it, Garo? I'm like, imagine like you said, like you put the scenario together and then you just have this Marine standing in his door like, no, you can't come in my house, and then being like, wait a second, how the fuck did you know I called the cops about these hard drives I found buried in my backyard?
So can we just continue the amount of scandals surrounding the DNC, because we've also got
Too many scandals. Too many
we've got the
cooks.
entire Fusion GPS now. I haven't heard any movement on that one since the allegation got made that Fusion GPS, the organization that was working with the DNC for like the Pissgate shit, who's also heavily connected with the Russian government, worked with the DNC to help set up the Trump Jr. meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was even weirder. Was like poll was on like super high, like 8 poll was on super high alert about the DNC after the Juan thing, like going off about like why there was a bunch of different DNC members, like including John Podesta, all like coming out of like the same bars in Tampa or something, and like it was just really fucking strange.
Like I'm not exactly like a Pizzagate believer.
Yeah.
But like there is obvious fucking like conspiracy shit going on with these people. If not like worldwide, like pedophile human trafficking rings.
Man,
at
I
the
want to
very
know.
least, they are colluding to like fucking do all sorts
Do
of other
some
shady
kind
shit.
of do some shit. Like yeah. I just want to like stand here and like just think for a second. It's like, how scary must it be to be John Podesta, where you're like involved with all these geopolitics for years and years and get away with everything, and then suddenly a bunch of fucking like spurgy neo-Nazis makes you public enemy number 1, and like they just won't leave you alone.
Yeah,
It's just
they follow you to fucking bars and shit in like the middle of Florida.
like there's
And
just
then
it's like
pictures of you,
they're just
like,
out there like waiting for you to slip up, and it's like it's
They're
not the
not
cops,
organized.
it's not
They're not
another
the command
government,
structure.
it's not the KGB, it's not the CIA, it's a bunch
just
of
some
fucking
retards on the
like
internet who
it's a bunch
think
of
these things are
neo-Nazis
fucking
from a
pedophile.
Mongolian basket weaving image board waiting.
Yeah.
It's too good.
It's so fucking stupid. Like this is just like this whole like last 2 years. Like ever since Trump announced he was running for president, things have just gotten so fucking stupid. And I don't know if it's just because Obama like left office, so now the media isn't lining up to suck his dick anymore and just like say, yeah, whatever Obama says is what's happening. So now they're doing actual journalism and realizing how fucking crazy stuff is. Or if it's just like somehow like culturally there's just been some fucking amazing like upheaval where now everyone's just slowly going like more and more crazy and just accepting of all the dumb shit that's happening. But like just I really can't see any end in sight to just this continuing downward spiral into madness that is like politics and like the media.
Well, think of it. It's funny. Trying to explain
And like, I guess
to
like
a
the internet
normie.
culture and so on.
I was trying to explain to a normie like why all the shit's hitting the fan right now, and I'm just pointing out to them it's like the economy is changing, how we talk to one another is changing. But
I'm pretty
mostly
sure
economy.
the Trump election
Like, yeah,
was
no,
like
I mean,
like the linchpin.
maybe it was just
Like, there was a
Like
lot
the-
of other
yeah.
stuff building up, but it was the kind of thing where it's like, it's a roller coaster ride where everyone thinks it's like, this big hump is just one that we'll get. Like, they didn't think that the biggest hump was, it's like, alright, I'll change my metaphor a bit. It was like a roller coaster ride where they reached the top of the highest hump, and then realized that the roller coaster track wasn't actually finished. And then go, oh
Yeah.
shit, and just fly face first into the ground. And it's like that was basically the Trump election, where it's like it was the guys just not building the railroad track, where
it
the
just
media
came out of nowhere.
and the
They didn't
establishment,
fucking see it coming. They were just like, what?
the establishment Like, the establishment, like, suddenly realized in a single fell swoop that they had no, like, they didn't have even...
They had, like, no fucking, like, preparation.
Like, not even close to an inkling of public goodwill to, like, grease the wheels of any of their war machines. Like, they were sitting there with their asses flapping in the goddamn wind. And suddenly, like, it's... You know, everyone wants... And even my fucking dad. Like, everyone wants to say, like, oh, man... Trump is just a giant case, like all the intellectuals and the pseudo-intellectuals want to go, Trump is a case of the emperor with no clothes. And it's like, no, Trump was the dude that said the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
Like, you can call Trump an idiot all goddamn day. I really want to believe that Pohl is right on that one and that he is actually some kind of secret chess master, as opposed to just, you know, like an egomaniac that's actually, like, smarter than he believes, but has no idea what he's doing beyond that. But, like, at the end of the day, it's like, I still will take him over nuclear war, and I still will take him over all of this, like, this never-ending cavalcade of fuckwits that we have had since, like, the 60s.
You're about to tell me that Barry Goldwater was the last good president.
I told you this so many times! I don't know. I don't even like Barry Goldwater, but Barry Goldwater was the last real conservative president. And then, like, the last,
like, real, like, constitutional, like, presidential candidate.
Like, that's what I talked to Braving Ruin
like,
about
fucking,
this.
Like, theocrats, and then, like, commies.
Yeah, like, I talked to Braving Ruin about this, either we talked about it in a private chat, or we talked about it, on the EdgeCast previously, where I said, like, and I'm not saying I have coined the term, but I believe that there are, like, there's not just paleocons and there's not neocons. There's paleocons, mesocons, and neocons. And paleocons were Barry Goldwater Republicans and older. And mesocons were everybody that came after, all the conservatives that weren't really conservatives that came after Barry Goldwater until Bill Clinton. And then Bill Clinton ruined that demographic too, and then and then we had neocons, where, like, they're just corporatist shills that pay lip service to conservative ideas and pander to the religious right because it's the only base it's the only base dumb enough to buy their shit all the time.
Well, come on. Just look what happened with the Affordable Care Act. Oh, yeah, 7 years of promising to repeal it. You have the Senate, you have the House, you have the White House.
And the best,
who's
the
gonna
most,
stop you?
the smartest thing the Republican Party has managed to do in the last, like, decade was figure out a way to meme that the government shutdown was not them throwing a temper tantrum.
Well,
like,
okay, what was it? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember during the government shutdown, a bunch of, like, national parks and everything got shut down, like open-air parks. And those didn't need to get shut down.
Yeah.
That was actually a presidential order to shut them down, too.
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
Even when he's winning, Obama can't be graceful. We know.
No. Yeah, no, it's just an extra kick in the ass as you go. That's just how he played the game. He knew the media was on his side,
so he just acted like a child.
So he would just make a show of things and give them ammunition to shoot at his enemy, to shoot at, like, his political rivals for him. That's all it was. Oh yeah, speaking of Obama, Hirsch also did, like, the whole expose on how the whole, like, Bin Laden assassination. Like, first off, like, it wasn't, like, some secret mission that they did without permission of, like, the Pakistani government, and it was, like, some big, like, covert op. The Pakistani government knew they were there and said they could be there and gave them permission to go in and just shoot him. It was literally just a fucking execution signed off by everyone involved.
Yeah.
And Obama specifically...
And then there was the bullshit...
lied about, like, the actual fucking circumstances of it because he wanted to, you know, be reelected. He needed that extra goodwill bump.
And then there was just the utter bullshit of, like, the whole conspiracy theory and everything surrounding, like, why SEAL Team 6 were like, suddenly all of them get shot down over this one area in overloaded helicopters, and then immediately after that, SEAL Team 6 no longer exists. We're DevGru now. And you're like, okay, like,
no, but it was that, And then it was also, okay, so, the guy that was giving out free vaccines to everyone in Pakistan, the Pakistani region where Osama was?
Yeah.
And then, they said he was the one who they, got the DNA sample from? It wasn't him. It wasn't him at all. He was completely innocent. He didn't know anything about it. They just named some random medical guy.
Him.
They just named some random medical guy that knew nothing about what was going on, who was legitimately just freely vaccinating, thousands of poor Pakistanis out of the goodness of his heart, so that they could protect their own CIA asset, who then emigrated to America and got a job as a consultant for the CIA, along with the military officer who tipped off the U.S. government that Osama was there to begin with. And so they brought these two guys over, then they got jobs working for the CIA, probably to hush them up so they wouldn't reveal what actually went on and make Obama look bad. And then they just threw this random fucking Pakistani doctor to the fucking wolves, let him get arrested and probably killed when he was just completely innocent because he happened to be unlucky enough to have given the Bin Laden family children vaccines.
Yep.
He just happened to be in the area. It was that guy. It was all fucking bullshit. The whole thing.
When we did the love seat on the
Fuck the CIA.
Yeah, fuck the CIA. Fuck the CIA. But when we did the love seat on War Machine, was that before or after I brought up the Petraeus revelation thing?
I think that was
I really need to remember if we brought that up or if I had to. What was
I think we might have mentioned it, but we didn't really go into detail.
I'll just say this now because it reminds me of it. So the War Machine thing, we talked about War Machine and basically how War Machine as a satire was put together so poorly that it was basically indicative of the entire propaganda machine around.
It was just complete garbage.
Yeah, and it was just complete trash. And there was one moment in it that out of everything else,
quality level.
Yeah, out of everything,
that's how bad it was.
Out of everything else, the entirety of the entire movie, there was one hokey thing that stuck out so badly that was the way that the movie started, they had this joke where it's then they sent Glenn, and it's a dude in an airport bathroom taking a shit, and then it's him doing his dumb walk and his staff slowly lining up behind him, Avengers style or something.
Yeah.
And they just do that as a joke, and then they end the movie with well, they sent Glenn home. I guess you can't make a country rebuild at the point of a gun, yada yada, making all their fake platitudes and bullshit metaphors that they lied about. And then they're but you know what they did? They didn't learn their lesson. They sent Bob. And it's the same scene over again as a brick joke, except they had fucking Russell Crowe cameo as the Bob character, and you're what the fuck? Why did they have Russell Crowe of all people?
Why would they get all these fucking big name actors for completely shit roles?
Just random cameos.
This movie was just in production and then got rewritten 5 times halfway through, and everyone was still under contract to make a movie that was supposed to be way grander in scale and way more interesting.
That's what I thought originally.
They rewrote it to be 100 times shittier.
That's what I thought originally, but I think the end was not only just a bad brick joke, but it was also another stab at the establishment and a hope to get a sequel where they did the same thing again. Because I found out that the dude who so the main character is a guy named General McMahon, which is he's a stand-in for General McChrystal, who was the dude that Obama fucked over. And then the guy that he replaced him with in the movie is Bob, and Bob is General Bob White in real life. Bob White's a stand-in for fucking General Petraeus, who the Obama administration also fucked over. And so it's oh, that makes sense. That was what made it make sense now. It's they had all this money to put a Russell Crowe in a cameo spot for a shitty brick joke so that they could have an on the way out, a fucking flip the bird on the way out the door to fucking General Petraeus as well. And it's why? the Obama administration and just everyone who supported it are so goddamn vindictive of anyone and everyone that ever questioned them. It's insane. Especially the CIA under Obama, as we've been talking about for a long time on this fucking dumb channel. Anyway, no, but we probably should have touched on this earlier, but the whole thing that kicked off this entire shitstorm was Lauren Southern got her Patreon taken away, and Jordan Peterson got not just his YouTube channel shut down out of nowhere, he got his
fucking Gmail.
His Google account was removed. Like, that was so overt. It was like, that's, hey, you know, we could do a shot across the bow, or we could just kill somebody and say it was a warning shot.
You know, there is a very distinct possibility that, okay, just set of the timeline for everyone. So his account got shut down. No reason given. Yeah, his YouTube, his Gmail, everything got shut down. He contacted them, got nowhere, tweeted out what the fuck's going on, basically. Then he gets a response from Google basically saying, we reviewed your application to have this reviewed. No, you're not eligible to have your account restored. And then a couple of minutes later, his account was restored. So one of the best theories I've heard, which brings up to what we were talking about earlier about just the gobsmacking number of incompetent motherfuckers kicking around these massive corporations these days. What happens if one of them just didn't like Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
What happens if one person within Google basically said, fuck this guy? I mean, this wouldn't make sense if it was the YouTube censorship bot. And their line was that they've been testing out the censorship bot for months now.
And it just automatically did it, and then they were like, wait a minute.
Swayed.
No.
I've bitched about my personal...
That would have been... No, let me finish this one. That doesn't make sense, because that would have just banned his YouTube account. It wouldn't have taken away his Gmail account.
Unless they were preparing for the Gmail thing. Because I don't know if you were reading, but they also announced they're planning to fight radicalization and hate speech in emails as well.
Okay,
which is just complete bullshit, because it means that they are monitoring your emails.
They are moderating direct person-to-person communication for hate speech, which is just fucking bullshit. But yeah, continue, Garam. I'm actually interested in seeing where you're going with it.
Okay, so one of the theories is that this had nothing to do with the AI, because if they're planning to do the Gmail in the future, that isn't even today. They're just doing it allegedly on YouTube. So they would have taken down his YouTube account. It would have not affected his his Gmail account.
His Hotmail.
Yeah, no. Which leaves a distinct possibility. Jordan Peterson is not a very well-liked person. What happens if one of these incompetent motherfuckers within within Google, just thought they'd get one over on the guy and just
Didn't his Twitter also get banned, or am I misremembering?
No. His Twitter definitely did not get banned.
Although,
I must be remembering wrong.
Twitter will do shit like that all the time. Like, Twitter hides tweets.
He was tweeting out throughout the entire saga. So, management finds out because they're getting a bunch of fucking hate. They go down there and find out that his account's already been because it was a very short time between, if memory serves, it was a very short time between him going public and him getting the rejection letter. So there was likely a delay between him getting rejected and management storming down to the whatever office is responsible for the shit and just bolting out of the elevator, just screaming who the fuck is responsible for this.
See, I can't really see that as much as it being like an automated response, and then someone was like, whoops, we made a mistake here, and then correcting it. I didn't really read the rejection email as something that a real person wrote.
I don't see it as either. I don't think that the response and everything wasn't automated per se, but what I think is that this was something that somebody greenlit. Like, this is probably like that thing that happens when incompetent people are pushed against a corner where suddenly they want to act like they're getting serious. And it's just animals showing all of their teeth when they're at their limits. And it's like this was a shot across the bow. Just, it was so unsubtle and so sloppily done that, like, it just
made them look fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It made everyone suddenly be like, wait a minute, we gotta deal with
it. And I mean,
this
I was going to say earlier, it's like, Garam, I've mentioned before some of my personal life and how, like, my occupation goes, and I've talked with Suede a lot about it. It's like, I work with people like this every day. Like, I have, like, almost all of the people who are directly superior to me in the company that I currently work for, and their superiors in turn, all up the ladder, are fucking, like, blithering idiots that, like, functionally have no goddamn idea what they're doing, and then even when they have some inkling of what they're doing, their frame of reference is like so beyond what is reasonable that it's to be alien. So, like, just, like, and my company is not a big company. It's just, like, this is the way shit just is now. And, I have a lot of dealing with really incompetent managers that think that they're hot shit. And it's just, a lot of the time what happens is these are people that, the core to that character failure that causes all of this is not that they're just bad people and that there's such a, like, they're bad people as opposed to good people. It's that they are bad people that that have so much power that they're not allowed to be criticized by anyone who knows better. And, like, when they're put in a position where they can't be criticized, or they ignore criticism or anybody who does criticize them, they can just fire as it goes.
And then, of course, when they face someone who they can't just make go away, who continually criticizes them, they have no way of fucking dealing with that. And,
they resort to
you'll see them
smuggery.
go fucking rabid because they can't handle it.
Yeah, they resort to smuggery and bullying tactics, and then try to, like, they do that, like, they do that fucking, like, bullying old man shit where they're like, you see what I did there, son? You understand now? Like, they talk down to you like they're your parents or something. Like, this is, the tone of that whole thing is just, that's the way it rubbed me. Like, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm probably wrong. I'm sure somebody will, like, one of the only commenters we have will show up out of nowhere and be like, you guys are stupid niggers, brah, brah, brah. But, like, just, that's just the way I can see it, like, right now, is that, like, that's just the tone that it came off as. That's the way that, like, that, it rubbed me the wrong way in the sense that, like, it very much seemed like the kind of thing that, like, an incompetent manager who was slighted by an inferior employee would do, where they're just like, well, what do you think now that I've docked your pay for daring to insult me, even though, like, I was in the wrong, or something. Like they're sitting there crossing their arms and they're like, what about now, smarty pants? Kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Garam?
We didn't even. My God, how did we not even talk about Venezuela?
No.
Is that a topic for this episode? I'm not sure.
It
seemed like
it is now!
All right. I thought we were sticking to, like, North America, not, like, Central America, or South America, actually.
I mean, there was...
Listen,
we can go all around the globe.
Constructs.
Let's go to Europe quickly before we go to
Hemispheres aren't real.
I mean,
Venezuela. All right. Firstly, Venezuela is part of North America. Suede, nice job.
What? I didn't hear what you said.
Venezuela is part of North America. Suede, nice job.
I thought, what the fuck is the one in fucking? Oh wait, because Venezuela's still in the northern hemisphere. You're right.
Yeah, Venezuela is part of Mesoamerica. It's south of Mexico, north of Colombia. It's not that hard.
I mixed up Colombia and Venezuela as, like, God damn it.
Dude.
I don't know the geography of the continent I live on. I only know the geography of other continents.
Welcome to America.
Okay.
It's weird to think that despite being in South America, they're still.
Hey, wait! I can squeeze this in now. I can squeeze this in now. In the words of Ambrose Bierce, war is God's way of teaching Americans geography.
We have declared war on Venezuela, therefore I, as an American, have no idea where they are. Declare war on them, and suddenly I'll become an expert in their culture, their history, and all sorts of aspects of their country geographically. But
look, man, I'm not saying I supported the Vietnam War, but until the Vietnam War, we had no good Vietnamese food around here. Oh, that's horrible.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Pretty good.
Let's see. Let's count my sins for this cast. So, I've steamrolled over everyone. I dropped an N-bomb, in passing instead of even making it have any real gravitas. And now I've insulted the Vietnamese. I feel
I'm pretty
bad.
happy there's so much Middle Eastern food now as well.
God
that's been
damn,
pretty hype for
is
me.
shawarma good?
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm still concerned about Europe. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Garam. You don't have any food or anything of value, so.
You have poutine and bags of milk.
And
milk.
And microbrews made from, moose piss or something. I don't know.
The East has the bagged milk. Out west, there is no bagged milk.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I know the bagged milk is
stay.
only kind of like a forced meme, but the poutine thing is not.
I've had poutine. I didn't like it.
Yeah, we don't have any good poutine out here.
What is good poutine, really?
Good poutine is something they make in the deep south. They just call it country gravy.
I was about to say, I don't think I've ever had good poutine.
Yeah, biscuits and gravy, my man.
God. Yeah. Fucking biscuit, country sauce, that.
Yeah, fucking sausage gravy, dude.
Yeah. Dude, I hand make the sausage at work sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's and then I can go home and hand make.
I want to take this home.
It's I'll buy some,
now.
take it home, and hand make the biscuits, and then I'll hand make the gravy, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't care if this is 2,600 calories. I earned this.
No, you just need to preserve the gravy just the right ways. You just have biscuits and gravy 4 breakfasts straight. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
amazing.
and, let's stop being like the South, the deep South.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, funny enough, driving into work, listening to the Ben Shapiro show, he just made an interesting comment of, if we're smart, we should make the regressives. Well, he just called it the political left, but yeah, let's say just the regressives like Bernie Sanders eat everything they've ever said about Venezuela under Hugo Chavez and Maduro. Just make them eat it because
just
now
play
they
2 hour long clip of them just saying nothing but compliments about how great Venezuela is.
And then just every time they see something great about Venezuela from 5 years ago, play them a video of Venezuela's trying to find food out of garbage cans today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything was great 5 years ago. Oh.
Yeah, see, the main problem with that is their agriculture got nationalized, which wouldn't be a problem in itself if they were still running if they were still running an import export ratio such that they would have money to pay for food. But then they nationalized everything else, so now no one really wants to do business with them. And now their fucking currency is worthless, so not only do they not have any food, but they have no money with which to buy food from outside. So the entire country is starving, not because there isn't just tons of food around them, or tons of potential for agriculture to work there.
I thought I was reading somewhere that the inflation rate this year has already went over 100%.
Kraut and his friends did a video on Venezuela before it even got this bad, where they only did it not because they were caring about Venezuela, but because they were shitting on AJ Plus, trying to meme their way out of it. This was almost over a year and a half ago at this point, maybe. It was a while back, but it was just the best line out of the whole thing was one of the only things that the douche of Sinope has ever said that I actually liked, which was where he went, and I quote, "This is a country that figured out a way to have a water shortage in the middle of a jungle."
Yeah. They could easily grow as much food as they need to feed the entire country. It's just the complete mismanagement of every resource across the board has led them to the point where they have nothing of value to trade for food, and no one that would even be willing to trade with them to begin with.
Because their money is worthless.
Not only because their money is worthless, but because they've driven away foreign capital to such an extent that they won't even send trucks to Venezuela full of bananas, because the trucks will just get nationalized and repossessed by the Venezuelan government. The bananas will get nationalized and distributed to people who work for the Venezuelan government, and they won't get any of the stuff they were promised to be paid for them.
Which is why, at this point, after the vote, and
now there's riots, so they won't even send food there for that reason either.
It's worse than just the riots, but the company which got contracted for the vote, the CEO came out and said the numbers being reported by the government are completely wrong compared to what we measured. They just fucking made up the numbers. What we just saw in Venezuela was a socialist communist coup.
The socialists were already in power, but they had to keep themselves in power by overthrowing the people that just got the popular vote to get rid of the socialists. They just can't accept on any level that their socialist revolution
failed.
Is the minority. That they're not fighting for the people, they're just fighting for themselves.
Yeah, but they're the ones with all the fucking guns.
We reach back to the point we had made earlier. That this organization of this government, much similar to corporations and other governments, gets eaten out from the inside by a bunch of fucking idiots because the people on top have absolutely no consequences for being wrong.
Yeah. It's just the iron law of bureaucracy.
Which I can quote now, and it was Jerry Pournelle, who actually wasn't famous for being a sci-fi author.
I thought he was a fucking sci-fi author.
No, he did write science fiction, but he was famous for being a journalist and an essayist, and he was the president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America in 1973.
That was it.
And he ran, and he contributed. He was like one of the major contributors to the magazine of Byte until it went out of
fucking Byte
circulation.
Oh man!
But his quote on the iron law of bureaucracy that he requoted later that got it better is: firstly, in any bureaucracy, the people devoted to the benefit of the bureaucracy itself always get in control, and those dedicated to the goals of the bureaucracy is supposed to accomplish have less and less influence, and sometimes are eliminated entirely. And he has restated it as: in any bureaucratic organization, there will be two kinds of people. Those who work to further the actual goals of the organization, and those who work for the organization itself. Examples in education would be teachers who work and sacrifice to teach children versus union representatives who work to protect any teacher, including the most incompetent. The Iron Law states that in all cases, the second type of person will always gain control of the organization and will always write the rules under which the organization functions.
Yep.
It was written as a direct comparison to the iron law of oligarchy, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with.
Of course. But it's just the only way to really fight that is with external pressure and allowing these systems to fall apart under their own weight. But in the interim, it really sucks. See Venezuela.
Yeah.
It's not even a problem of I'm going to be honest here. It's not even really a problem of socialism versus capitalism. It's a problem of centralization versus localized operations. It's a problem of federalism versus I guess not necessarily states' rights, but I guess states' rights like you say in America. But really, it's the issue of top-down strategy and structures rather than from the bottom up. And that's really the problem is they just tried to meme their way into a functional socialist economy. And they wanted to do that in a way that preserved their control over it. When in order to have a functional socialist economy, And yeah, Garam, I know, like, huge, like, hilarious joke. But they would have needed to eliminate themselves because they were half the problem to begin with their competence.
In a true socialist economy, there is no bureaucracy.
Yeah. But
Idiots.
whatever. It's like this whole system is
I'm gonna...
like this whole revolution is just fucking like.
Oh man, I wanna cut that out. I wanna cut that little snicker and everything and then following out and just save it as a sound bite to use on the eventual like L.O.V.E soundboard where it's just Garam going idiots.
Yeah. Venezuela is fucked in so many ways, and there are so many ways they could have not been fucked, and
they didn't even try. They didn't even try.
Yeah, no, they just picked up the Choose Your Own Adventure book and decided to take every single bad decision they could. Just the worst decision possible in all circumstances.
What's the line about a monkey's a better voter than a socialist? That when the monkey votes, he's right half the time. The socialist votes, he's wrong every time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
They really are just... I just...
It's really...
It always blows my mind, just these people. It's like, how many times do you need to be proven wrong?
Because
how many?
As long as they fucking exist, because it's always different people. Like you note, there's only two kinds of socialists. Like, there's the ones at the top that aren't actually socialists that just pretended until they got into power and then do whatever they want and they turn into authoritarians.
And there's the true believers who get used by the people at top.
Yeah, and then there's the true believers at the bottom that are true believers because their situation is so shitty they will latch on to anything that'll make it better. And it's like, just the people at the bottom, those true believers, they are useful idiots
the same
to every...
as we had before. It's the loser theory of radicalization.
Yeah, they exist in every single fucking failed ideology ever. No matter what. And no matter if it's a fascist one, if it's an anarcho-capitalist one, if it's a fucking socialist one, if it's a democratic Republican one, like any of the ones that even, no matter how many times it's been proven wrong, that like their specific idea of the way the government works, there's always more of these people, because no matter what they do, all the other people around, this is like the inverse of the outside pressure thing he was talking about. All the other people outside them, the outside pressure that would fix this problem, they instead go, no, these people are useful idiots, I'll just convert them to my cause, and then they do the exact same thing over again. Nobody has these answers. It's always just ideologues sitting there with a book, trying to fucking like force it, like they just fake it till they make it. I don't know if I went off topic there, if that tied in well.
You're going off topic. It's all garbage, is what it is.
It's trash. It's all trash.
It's been like 2 hours now?
Yeah. In the words of our dear friend, it was all trash.
It was all trash.
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 Which is exactly what the Venezuelan diet is. It's all trash.
Shit.